So I would want just to make some brief observations today on the historic opening of the Explorers Youth Club's headquarters here in Phillips Village. I want, though, to recognize with me our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, and to thank him especially for taking time, not only because he loved young people, but to indicate his fullest support for what is happening here. I want also to recognize Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan, Ambassador Tom Lee, and Michael. I equally must recognize the High Command of our security forces, all who have come out this morning to be part, or came out today, to be part of this historic development here in northeastern St. Kitts. I want to ask Mr. Brandy to stand so that the young people can see the Commissioner of Police. Could you give Mr. Brandy a special hand of welcome? We have also with us our Lieutenant Colonel of the Defense Force, Commander Anthony Comrie. We have with us the Chief of the Fire Services and Rescue, Mr. O'Garrow. We have with us our Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. James. and all the others, the special invitees, in particular Sun Island, who has been with this group for a very long time providing support. And of course, we want to thank Sonia Carr through her enterprise, Karen's, for the support they recently gave to the Explorers Club. Could both of you stand, and could we give them, please, a special hand of welcome for their contribution. We want, of course, to thank you, George Welcome, who hails from Lodge Village but has migrated away from us. He has now returned. So he is the senior engineer at Public Works. Could you stand? And could we give him too a special hand of welcome? I also want to recognize Pastor Cumberbatch, who is the chaplain of the security forces. Could we give him a special hand? And his church is the Wesleyan Church at Flamboyant Drive in Molyneux. I took the time at the outset to identify these personalities for a number of reasons, because I hope they represent role models for our young people. The Explorers Club has emerged in our country as the largest organized youth grouping in St. Kitts with a structured program for engaging our young people. And we want to give Permanent Secretary Petty and Inspector Isles a loud, rousing applause for doing that. 1,200 young persons and growing. And I'm sure when the scenes of this beautiful building are made widely available, and we have the induction formally of the club in Sandy Point, in St. Paul's and elsewhere, we are going to emerge even stronger in terms of the numbers, perhaps reaching nearly 2,000 young people in the Federation. And imagine the task and the important difference which this method of socialization, which brings our young people into contact with responsible adults, and how that can change them and change us as a society. Right here, among the majors and the wider group of young persons engaged in our Explorers family, we have persons who are going to emerge and one day become the next commissioner of police, because either they appreciate what Inspector Isles would have done, or Sergeant Sampson, or Constable Lake, or some other officer who had been part of their mentorship and leadership to this program. There is hope. There is hope. And Mr. Petty says that the community policing effort attached to the Explorers is one of the most industrious of all the teams within the St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. So I want to commend them. I would like to, coming from this group, we could have the next commander of our defense force. And I am happy that we have a cadet, not the Defense Force cadet. But I was amazed when Mr. Petty spoke that we have been able to build out a cadet associated with the Explorers Club, because this has been in the program for the Defense Force. And we have not had the kind of build out that we would have liked within that particular unit. So I'm happy at least the void is being taken up. I am also encouraged that right here the next chief of our fire services and rescue department can emerge. And one of the activities in which the leadership of the fire department at Tabernacle had been engaged in recently was the visits to various communities, speaking to them about the work involved as an officer of the fire department of St. Kitts and Nevis. I hope that they would have come to this club. In any event, they would have gone to various other communities, speaking to the parents and guardians. And so I hope that you will be inspired to go on that path. I am hoping equally that the next head of our Commissioner of Prison Services will come out of the Explorers group. In other words, all the wonderful people, the next cadre of leadership can potentially come from who we have here. And so this is an amazing thing when over 1,200 young people are being exposed to structured program of the type in which the Explorer group is now engaged. I am happy about that. And equally, I am happy that one of the former head teachers of the Molyneux Primary School, Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School, Mrs. Joycelyn Pennyfeather, could you stand this here? I'm not sure if she would have taught any of you, maybe she has, but I want to especially welcome her as Dr. Pennyfeather and one of the new budding educators we have in this community. Pastor Myron Percival, when he spoke, asked, can anything good come out of Phillips Village? All goodness can come out of the people of Phillips, the people of Molyneux, the people of St. Paul's, the people of Sandy Point, the people of our country, if we will it to happen. If we, as responsible adults, take the lead in insisting on the kind of St. Kitts and Nevis we want to have. And we work hard with our young people to make that happen. When Officer Lake spoke, I smiled because Officer Lake told a story. I think it was at the formal launch of the Explorers Club at Lodge Project, Violet Petty School, about his own adventure into the rough side of life, how he has transformed his own life. He is a living testimony that there is good within every one of us. And though we may embark upon a certain pathway on that road to Damascus, we can have a moment of reflection revelation, and a moment of change. Look, if you are not careful, that Constable Lake will replace Commissioner Brandy if we keep up that way. So it's really a good feeling to come and to really be optimistic that while we are still some miles to travel on this journey of delivering to the people that we love in St. Kitts and Nevis this better, more optimistic future, full of opportunities for all, that right here we are seeing the start and we are seeing what is possible. Look how leaders have emerged to fill the role of majors in the Explorers Club. Leaders from within have emerged, and we want to congratulate all those who have made the leadership and are now called majors. Give them again a special hand. What has been the guiding factor, because it is also unique to the St. Kitts and Nevis experience, that you should have a national youth group of this type being led through the Ministry of National Security. And we must ask ourselves why. Why? Because there was a point in the past where law and order had been a missing ingredient in our society. Why? Because there was a time when research would have discovered that there was a significant involvement of our young people, even at primary school age, in criminal activities. That is, significant adults were using them to engage in criminal activity. Whether it is to move a gun from point A to point B, because the young people they determined perhaps would get less attention and suspicion. And so we were concerned, as every serious person about the nation's development ought to have been concerned, to say that we need to engage, and we needed, as it were, to cut off that probability of another group of young persons moving into the gangs in our society. And so the Explorers Initiative came on board as part of an added value that we could bring to the fight to contain crime in our country and to stymie, eradicate the involvement of juveniles in criminal activities through constructive after-school engagement, mentorship, and outreach. The outreach is not just to the student. The outreach, importantly, is with their families, is with the mother, is with the father. Is saying to them that we are willing to try, but we need you to partner with us to give your child a stronger, safer, and better future. And that is why constantly, as part of the activities, they go and they visit parents. We heard that from Constable Lake. They talk to them. They see where there are challenges, and they work closely with the parents. Children must always be reminded to honor their mother and their father. Honor their mother and their father. It is the right thing to do. Blessings of God comes from that. And therefore, when our leadership within our police, our Explorers Group, insists upon that, we see we are putting the country again on the right track. The right track for positive development. The right track for the goodness to reverberate in our country. So I feel especially pleased to be here. Not only because I was there in the beginning, not only because it is a program under the Ministry of National Security, but importantly, I see this as helping our country consolidate the gains of peace that we have had. And in this regard, I want to commend the police and all the law enforcement officers, because 20 20. Hopefully no incident today, Mr. Brandy. I hope your men are all over the place. 2020 will end with the lowest number of homicides in our country, going way back to probably 2003. Let's give our police a round of applause. And we commend all the efforts of those courageous people, the courageous officers who are doing community policing here, the other officers that are out there taking the fight to the criminals, the other person who have come on board when all had seemed lost to do what they call an engagement with those who were in gang or affiliated with them. And when we begin to look at the numbers in some communities, it was really a frightening experience to know the numbers of people directly and indirectly tied to the gangs. And that is why we determined that we had to launch a peace initiative to save the country. I want to commend a young teacher who came forward, a guidance counselor who came forward, a pastor who came forward, a banker who came forward, and several other persons who came forward to provide support to the peace initiative. And there were times when we were scared for them. A small group of about 7 or so persons came as volunteers, took the time going into locations where you would not expect them to go, with persons who the police, well, were suspicious, maybe a better way of put it, of being involved in gangs. Imagine sitting down face to face with somebody you know is a danger or menace to society. Imagine having to share your numbers with them. Even the police officers who took that on, they themselves had their moments. But what was important was that they were able to connect, that a lot of persons who were involved in the gang, they did not want to stay, but they did not know how to come out. They needed a friend. And several of our police officers became their friends 24/7. Whenever there was a shootout, why we did not have one following up is because the officers went and the team went and re-engaged and reconstruct what always would have been an elusive peace. Today we can see the results of the homicides that we have had so far. Few of them are gang-related. Not so, Mr. Brandy? Yes, sir. That is what we have come to. In the good old days, every time there was a killing, we know that it was the gangman then. We have been able over the last 3 years to have 20+% decrease in homicides in our beloved country year after year. That is a remarkable achievement. And so it was maybe 2 weeks ago that Mr. Grandy, as part of regional law enforcement leadership, were explaining to persons, law enforcement agencies, about our model of peace. So we are having success there. That is becoming a model. Officers have gone on to Barbados in law enforcement engagements put on by the British High Commission to share our experience with the Peace Initiative. We are doing a lot of wonderful things, and we must continue to provide leadership in all areas of societal challenge in the region. So again, another round of applause for our law enforcement officers. I want, of course, again, to thank all the community police officers who are giving yeoman service to our country and to our young people in this regard. And I want again to congratulate Pastor Myron Percival of M&D Construction for doing an excellent job in delivering this beautiful edifice, not just to the people of Phillips Village, but to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, because it is their headquarters, the headquarters for all of the clubs. And this is an important landmark that has come to this community. I am glad that he came here. I am glad, because too many persons in Bastille don't know where Phillips is. Too many persons in Rolo don't know where Phillips is. Mr. Hodge would try to give them direction, and then they get lost. He knows it. So at least by bringing more people to the parts of the country, we can develop stronger relationship and stronger appreciation for the circumstances under which our fellow citizens and residents live. This landmark building, of course, is an important addition to the people of the communities in which it is sited. And so I feel happy as a parliamentary representative to be part of these wonderful things that are taking place in the country and in my constituency in particular. And I must say a very big thank you to the people of Phillips Village, because election after election, they have never left me wanting. And in the last election, they performed as the best ever. Let's give them, man, a special round of applause for participation in democracy. For this is what democracy is about. My final word is again one of commendation. I listened to George Gilbert speaking about the process, and I wish that more persons could understand how this government has been doing business in St. Kitts and Nevis. 4 contractors went through a detailed process of determining who will end up being the lucky one to construct this. And it was not just by name. He detailed the difficult criteria of assessment, the openness of it. Peter know what Tom put in or Mary put in. So when you hear some people say they don't know how this get it, nothing goes so in St. Kitts and Nevis. Every contractor that participates in the bidding process, he or she has the opportunity, once he submits his bid, to be part of the tender opening process. So very early, they know who would have won or likely to win based on the presentations. And Mr. Gilbert said at the end of it, it is pricing which must be reasonable. You can't just say you want to be the lowest and then you come back and you charge the government 3 times more. So yes, the affordability of the construction is important and tight. Sometimes some say they will take a year. Another time, some may say they will take a year and a half. The technicians like Gilbert at Public Works are who make the determination, having regard to the experience and knowledge about what is a reasonable time and therefore how close we are coming. So we are attempting by doing that process, which I strongly support, value for money. Value for money, and ensuring at the end of the day, the person who could deliver best for the country is the one that gets the job. And so, Mr. Myron, I gather that your original contract was somewhere about 2.5 million. Thank God you're not asking for any more money, and the end of the year is today, so that can't come in tomorrow. But we want to thank you, though, for delivering the project on time, having regard to the COVID developments, but certainly within budget. Let's give him a special round of applause. Put in perspective, finally, is that I want us to appreciate that the government is making a significant investment in our country and in our young people in particular. If you listen to the budget, you would have learned that the government gave the Ministry of Education perhaps its largest budgetary allocation of over $100 million. That's significant. $100 million. That's a lot of money, not so, Mr. Hodge? Mr. Hodge don't even know how he will spend all of that. $100 million. And to the Ministry of Sport, $10 million. Those are two critical ministries in terms of engaging young people. Of course, young people are serviced through all of the ministries, but in particular education, where we are trying to ensure that they get the best quality education that help them in the end to become responsible and productive citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. That is the education mandate. Help them to become, help them to know, help them to do, help them to live together as they're going to have to do through the instrument of the Explorers Club. And then security. Security has received over $86 million. We're not taking chances with law and order. And certainly, if we add the other 10, that is part of the initiative for the at-risk people, we are looking at a contribution of $96 million to national security. So I want to end on a note of thankfulness. This has been a challenging year for all of us. But look, we are still standing. Look, we can look to the future with hope. Hope, real hope. Because so far, we have been able to manage adversities to God guidance and wisdom. So tomorrow we usher in the dawn of a new day with all the symbolism and substance, new opportunities, new beginnings, and the foundation of a budget of close to $1 billion that we are invested to lead the country to recovery. So thank you one and all. Thank you, Mr. Petty, for having me to be part of this historic development. We want to continue to create our own history of good things. This is a legacy development in the context of law and order in our country. This is a legacy initiative that generations after us will speak to as being an important stabilizer of our society and contributing to the advancement of St. Kitts and Nevis. May God bless us all, and may He continue to keep each of us and our families safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I just want to... Oh, you're going to do the cutting of the ribbon. You're going to go say, look at the ribbon. Huh? Yeah. I think you should read it, because if you read it on my phone, you read it.
Mr. Petty wanted me to read, but I didn't go by any notes. You see, I just said what was in the heart in the interest of time. But he felt it was important that as Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, I should read the vision and mission statement for the Explorers. So I do this now. Healthy vision of the Explorers Clubs would be that healthy relations in all communities in the Federation amongst youths, police, parents, guardians, through education, personal and social development, training, and community empowerment. The mission statement says, the Explorers Youth Clubs movement is a nationwide undertaking by the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, motivated to improve the quality of life of all youths across St. Kitts and Nevis by facilitating their holistic personal development through experiential capacity building and community development engagement. As a community policing initiative, Explorers Youth Clubs seek to develop good ethics amongst young people that will give them a head start to assist in their future endeavors. I think this is it. So could we give a round of applause for the creators of the vision and the mission of this club? Thank you.